an episode posted for Holly's World today, so
Nice.
it took us way too long to do that, but we finally did it. So
That works. Did you share that on our Facebook page?
I did not. I need
Okay.
to.
All right.
I just
Is it?
haven't. I just haven't been around enough to really start digging into stuff.
Oh, I understand. Cause is it through our? We're streaming this, by the way, but I don't think there's nobody watching right now. So, um,
It's Podbean.
oh, you're doing it through Podbean.
Yeah,
I wasn't
because
sure if you were gonna add her into our Lipson account or not.
yeah, you can't. I wish you could, but you can't.
Oh, cause it wouldn't give her a separate. It yeah. So then iTunes wouldn't be able to recognize the difference between ours and hers.
Right. It would just be another one listed.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
All
Yeah,
right.
makes
Let's
sense.
go here.
Make sense. All right. Um.
Okay, what's going on here? It's not giving me the option to go to our page on YouTube. I'm not signed in. Has all the stuff we're following, so it's acting like it's.
I don't know.
It's just making me mad. That's all.
Here. Hold on. I'll make your life a little easier. Try the link I just put into the chat of Skype. Oh, did it actually say? No, it says 185. Just truncated it in the clip.
There it is. Yay!
Now you got it. Now you got it. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I need to talk to our boys at the arcade and see if they got any announcements they want to throw out there.
I haven't heard of anything.
Yeah, because I haven't heard anything coming up yet either, so I got nothing in the notes. Alright, well, let's close that window, close that window. Have to flip stuff back over. Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Here we go. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody to Geekvice episode 185, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name is Morph, that man is Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
And after a couple weeks of having guests on our show, this week it is just the two of us. We're back to normal, and we are back with another update of our D&D session.
Huzzah!
So, this week, or I guess this session of D&D, I actually thought we did really well on all fronts. I thought the game was played really well. I thought our combat was well thought out and kind of organized. And I thought our role-playing with it was even like spot on. The only downside was we almost lost a character, but that really wasn't anyone's fault.
No, it's just what happens. I think because of the way the terrain was, it forced us to be better with our combat management, with our strategy.
Yeah.
Uh, it also kept our meat shields, actually shield my character. Uh, it kind of held him back a little bit so he didn't just go charging headlong into combat. It allowed the ranged fighters a chance to do a lot of damage, which was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, and they definitely did the damage, which was really cool. So basically the setup for this one was we had traveled through the swamp, and we came across some lizard men that were in an area with some like large Komodo drag, extra large Komodo dragon, basically character like creatures that were with them, and they we came up on them and they decided that they were going to attack first, which I gotta say we did a good job of not provoking the attack. We just kind of walked up on them and they decided to attack us, and we were kind of stuck. There was a river or a swampy stream that kind of ran in between where we walked up and where they were, and it was really going to hamper our movement to get across there. So I think you and I both spent what, 2 turns just sitting back waiting for them to come at us.
At least 2 turns. I know I had a ready action set
Yeah.
for a while, and I got to use it once, so that was a
Right.
good thing.
Yeah, they and I think it even kind of surprised Brad a little bit too. I think he expected us to go like headlong over the river and just going right after the creatures, the lizard men that were over there, and we didn't. We kind of held back. You and I kind of put up a front and kind of blocked this more squishy spellcaster range people, and then once we took out the big lizards, we just then we were able to just go in and start wiping the floor with them, with the ranged characters, the ranged bad guys.
Yeah,
So
it's usually in a fight, I'll do at least 50% of the damage for the entire group. I did a small percentage this time.
yeah,
I think, in fact, I only gave 2 hits.
yeah,
I
I think so too, and I think our rogue with her crossbow actually did really well with nailing that stuff, and I kind of talked to her a little bit afterwards, and I think she's got an idea on. Unfortunately, because her she has no constitution, she has no hit points, and that is her weak part. But she has so much movement, and now that she's finally at level 4, which the rest of us are getting close to level 5. um, we will she can disengage from enemies and kind of move away from them. So she's going to almost be attached at your hip. Um, when you go in and attack something, she's going to be basically right behind you, come around and attack it, and then run away, so that she doesn't get hit. But if she attacks something that you're within 5 feet of, she gets all her sneak attack damage, which is going to allow her to do way more damage. So
yeah,
it,
and she has to be careful. I mean, like you said, she has no hit points, and um, honestly, there really is only one person or one character that can help her out, and yeah, it happens to be my character, but
well, you're the one with the most hit points, and we went and looked at it, and you and me are 2 of the highest AC on the team as well, which I don't have a ton of hit points, but my AC is so high, and it's gonna get a little bit higher when I level up again.
Yeah.
So it's gonna make it even harder for them to hit me, and that's where that's the only way I can really meet shield. I can't take a whole lot of hits, but if I can get in there and the guy can't, whatever the bad guys are, can't hit me, then I can work as that meat shield because I can just draw their attention. Which has worked so far. I've almost died on almost. I think this is the first session in a while that I haven't been close to death.
Yeah, I took nine hit points the whole fight. So we didn't need a meat shield. It was the beauty of it. And here's the funny thing that happened to my character. So my character is used to doing all this stuff and being like the dude that, does all the damage and, takes all the glory, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, he's the killer.
He's the killer. So there was these bigger lizard things that we killed, and then the smaller ones who were throwing javelins at us were moving closer, so it's like it's time to jump across the water and do something about these now that the big lizards are gone. So my character jumps across the water, gets in front of a guy, and that used all my hit or all my movement and everything, and the person who went next after me actually killed the thing, so I had nothing in front of me on my next turn. And there was one lizard guy that hung back, didn't move when everybody else was moving forward, so my thinking was he's like the guy in charge. He's telling everybody what to do. So I just use all my bonuses and everything to run up to him with enough to still hit him with the sword, and while I'm running at him, he just throws all his weapons down and is like, I give up. Which goes against, well, it doesn't go against everything my character believes in. It just caused a very big dilemma for my character, which is he wants to kill everything, but he's chaotic good, and here's a guy surrendering in front of him while his friends are trying to kill my friends. He didn't know what to do. So
Yeah.
he just kind of stood there, like looking around, like waiting for some sort of sign to tell him what to do. And because he's chaotic good, the chaotic part kicked in, and he was loaded. He was ready to spring, so he went ahead and hit the guy. Thankfully, I rolled low damage. Only did 10 points of damage. Otherwise, I would have killed that guy, and we wouldn't have moved forward in the story as we did.
Yeah, John. Brad made the comment. I think it might have been after you left that, like, when you ran up to go get him, he was like, the whole story was hinging on the point, like the way the book is kind of written, it's hinging on the point that this guy's gonna help you out, and he's like, well, I guess I better be ready to change the story because we're gonna have to find another way to get to this castle that we're supposed to go to, because this guy's supposed to lead us there. So yeah, that was quite entertaining, and the fact that we sat there and like even when you were running up to him and and our DM Brad goes, like, says that he drops his weapons, the look on your face, just your face, not even imagining your character's face, no, just your face was like, oh, what the, come on.
Yep. That was the look on my face because that's exactly what I was thinking. I thought I had it all figured out, and then when he throws his weapons down and says he gives up, it's like, I don't know what's going on now.
Right. Right. No, I get it. No, it was a really good session, and I think the way we fought our way through, and then after that, once we finished the combat, we did it with minimal damage to ourselves. Joe, our rogue, was the only one who's extra squishy and still kind of getting a feel for everything. she was the only one that almost died because she took a couple of very large hits. But once you and I were able to get in ahead of her, she just happened to be the first person to walk up to this group, so it caused her some problems. But once we got through that, we started in the role playing side of the game, and it actually went really well. I gotta say, I think we got a lot of information out of these people. We're recruiting the lizard men to help us in raiding this castle, and this I don't know if you were there, but Brad told us that the quest they're gonna send us on before we go raid this castle, he just kind of wasn't actually supposed to be in there. He's adding that so that he can make sure that we're leveled up. He wants all of us at level 5 before we go to the castle. He says because if we go in there at level 4, there's a good chance we're not walking out of it.
Oh, great.
So, looking forward to that one.
Well, that's why the whole time I'm like, I don't want to go to the castle now. I couldn't get that across to everybody that it's like this is a bad idea, but for apparently nobody listens to poor V. So,
oh no, we were listening because that was the thing. Like, I don't want to. I still am not under the impression. I don't want to attack the castle. Like, it's a fortified defense. Like, I'm not an idiot. My monk's not an idiot. You don't attack things that you can't get through. We don't have siege weapons or anything to go, like, bust into a castle. No, we need to, like, find another way in. We need to infiltrate it from the inside out if we're going to do something. There is no way we are getting into that castle if we're going to go in guns blazing. But we also don't know what goes in or out of the castle. I don't know if we could. I don't know how we're gonna pull this off, but we gotta go deal with this other quest first. But yeah, it's gonna be a trip. I don't know exactly what we're gonna do or how we're going to do it, but we're gonna have to come up with something. And we've at least got one session before we're really gonna have to worry about it. I don't think we'll get to the castle in the next session. Because I think we'll go do this quest and then we might deal with leveling up and things like that, and then go to the castle the next session.
Yeah, I hope that's the case because we do have some work to do and we have a lot of things to figure out. We when you play a game like this, the tendency is just to say, well, that's the next thing we have to do, so let's just go do it.
Yeah.
And it just, this time just felt like if we do that, we're dumb. But I think, honestly, we should still send the message out to see if we can't get anybody to join us.
Yeah.
Because by the time we finish the side quest, maybe they could actually get to us.
Yep. That might not be a bad idea.
Who knows? All I know is I didn't get to kill a lot of people, and V is pretty upset about it.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna do it. I don't know how we're gonna get more reinforcements. And honestly, we really like. I know these are lizard men, and they live in abandoned like ruins, and they don't seem to be like extra intelligent, but we have got to get some potions. We've got to get some healing potions because if we go into a big battle, we're in deep trouble because we don't have anybody that can keep our fighters up.
No. Yeah, we lack healers. We lack a lot of things.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting group and an interesting dynamic. It's we were talking about it a little bit afterwards, after we were done, and at one point when we started this session, we were going to have a lot of meat shields. We were going to have a lot of high hit point fighters in the fray, like in the mix melee fighters. And when when a couple of people just like had to back out and it couldn't keep going, we lost two meat shields in that sense. And
Yeah.
um, adding in V to the group was almost a necessity. But even now, looking at the dynamic of it and the party dynamic, we're looking at, we've got three basically ranged attackers. We've got a rogue that is extra squishy. We have my character, the dwarf monk, that really needs up another level before he can lay at least a little bit more damage. And then we've got your character that carries the weight of killing everybody. It's like we do not have a balanced party by any means.
No, no, and it's funny that we've gotten as far as we have with that dynamic. I tease the other people at the group that V, he's going to go back to town, and when he levels up, he's just going to find a whole new group of friends and go out on his own. It's just because it is so weirdly balanced. It is an odd deal. It really does feel like we have one guy that can just do all the damage, and everybody else is just there as a distraction almost. And I know it's not that way, but sometimes it feels that way, and it's funny because my character is so vain that he takes it personally. So it's funny.
All the attention is on your character. That is for darn sure.
Yeah, and that's the way he wants it.
Nice. So, that's what we've got with our D&D campaign so far. We're keep moving along in this story of the Horde of the Dragon Queen. I think we're on like chapter 6.
Out of how many?
I think 10 for the book that we're on right now, and then there's several books that go on to this story. I don't know what's going to happen when we get to the end of this one, though, because Brad usually likes to create his own stuff, and maybe maybe what he'll do is he'll take the story of the next part of the story, and he'll maybe rewrite it or take what they did and move it along and just be able to add to it a little bit more. So
yeah, and I feel bad because sometimes I wonder if he really wants to be on our side of the game instead of the DM side. So if the more we keep going, it seems like the more we're not really learning as much as we should to be able to say, okay, we'll be DM on this one kind of thing. But
yeah, I don't know.
So sometimes I wonder if he's like, damn it, I really want to play the game instead of run the game. But
well, and I know he plays in another group too, so I know he gets to play some. I don't think it's as much as he would want, but yeah, I kind of know what you mean. Like, and honestly, I would like to see him play, because I think he would be a hell of a player when it comes to. He knows so much already and understands so much of the mechanics that watching him play, I think, would be really entertaining. So maybe one of these times we'll do like a one-off and somebody else will run a game.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying to be a DM, but people will ask me stuff, and I'll be like, I don't know. I'd have to still ask Brad, so I just don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So, the other thing, you've been traveling a lot this last week. You were all over the place. Would you spend most of your time in Oklahoma?
Yeah, I have a lot of windshield time in Oklahoma. So Tuesday morning I left here, drove to Oklahoma City, Wednesday I had classes in Oklahoma City that I ran, and then from there drove to Tulsa the same day, and then had a class in Tulsa on Thursday, and then drove home Thursday afternoon. And then from there drove to Manhattan, Kansas, and then back on Friday. So, yeah, put some miles on a rental car.
Yeah, at least it's a rental car and not yours. Jeez.
Exactly. But, the company I work for, I just tell them, this is where I'm going to be. I need a hotel room. I need a rental car, and they just take care of things for me. So I really don't have any say in some things like where I stay. It's wherever our company has worked out a deal with the hotel. So in Tulsa, our office is kind of downtown. So they made a deal with the Holiday Inn. Yeah, It's a Holiday Inn. And it's kind of on the edge of downtown. It's an older building. 15 floors. So I was on the 15th floor. And you walk in and it's small, and it's an older hotel, but they've kept it up pretty nice. So I didn't think too much of it. And went to bed. My wife came with me for this business trip, which was kind of nice. First time we've ever done that. And went to bed and was laying there, and it felt like my wife had sat up and was trying to violently pull the covers off of me. And I was kind of laying on my side, so I rolled over and looked, and she was laying there perfectly still. And it still felt like somebody was sitting on the end of the bed tugging on the covers while I'm looking at my wife like, what the fuck is going on? So I kind of sat up and it stopped. And there was, of course, nothing there. And I thought, well, this is weird. Last time I was in Tulsa was last September when they had the 5.8 earthquake.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so that was a weird feeling in the bed, but it didn't feel like the covers were being pulled. It actually felt like somebody was under the mattress in different areas pushing it up, if that makes any sense, because of the vibration.
Sure.
So it was a completely different feeling, but the whole time I'm like, well, maybe that was an earthquake. You're trying to rationalize this.
Yeah.
So I calm back down, and I now I'm just laying there on my back, kind of staring at the ceiling and trying to go back to sleep. And I'd say probably about 45 minutes to an hour later, I'm on the right side of the bed, and on the right side near my feet, it feels like somebody is next to the bed pulling down on the sheets. Like they're trying to pull them onto the floor. And again, I look over and my wife is sound asleep, not moving. And so I get up and I look again where this is happening. And as soon as I sit up, it stops. So now the whole idea of this being an earthquake is gone. There's like, nope, I didn't imagine it the first time. Something weird going on in this hotel room. So don't know what it was. Didn't happen again, thankfully. But I didn't get any sleep either, because now I'm prepared. If this happens again, I was ready for it, and unfortunately it did not happen again. The room did make weird noises, but I just think that was the building. I don't think that was anything other than that.
Right.
So I'm going to say I slept in a haunted hotel room. That's the only thing I could say. It was weird. And it honestly felt like somebody tugging. It didn't feel like an earthquake. It didn't feel like, maybe my wife was moving her feet. It was none of those things. And plus we had a memory foam mattress, so if she moved, the bed didn't move. So I don't know what to say other than a couple of weird things happened in Tulsa.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, I've spent some time in Tulsa, usually for soccer tournaments. I haven't anything like that, but I also haven't stayed at a Holiday Inn there. You know, most of the soccer fields and stuff are not anywhere close to downtown, so um, we were usually on the outskirts of stuff. But yeah, that's kind of hard to explain. I mean, you can't even. I'm trying to remember. I've got some friends that live down there in Oklahoma, and I don't remember any of them saying anything about an earthquake. Over the weekend or
No,
over last week.
I turned on the TV that morning, and there was nothing on the news about an earthquake or anything. So I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
and it was bizarre, and the weird part about it was the way the sheets and everything were tucked into the bed.
Mm-hmm.
There was not like loose pieces hanging over for anybody to grab onto.
Right.
Um, it was when you were in that bed down by your feet. It was pretty snug. There was
Right.
no. It was tucked in there pretty tight. They had their hospital corners dead on. So, um, I don't. I honestly I can't explain it. It was it was just one of those things. And now I'm supposed to be going back to Tulsa probably sometime next month to do some more training. Uh, we'll see if I end up in that hotel again. Hopefully, I won't be in room 1509 because weird shit happens in that room.
Yeah. So, well, and that was the other thing I started thinking of. Okay, so you're on the 15th floor. If you're on the 14th floor, I can actually rationalize that a little bit because if you ever look at a hotel, the tall hotels, they don't have a 13th floor in the elevator. But if you, it doesn't mean to have a void on the 13th floor. So the 14th floor is actually the 13th floor,
Right. Yeah.
which I always thought was comical because nobody wants to sleep on the 13th floor except for the fact that everyone on the 14th floor is on the 13th floor.
Yeah. We just
Just because
renamed it.
yeah, just because you change the name of the number does not mean you change the actual number of the floor. Um, so yeah, but you were on the 15th, so that doesn't even work for that one.
No, it was weird. Um, and it was one of those things where I was actually going to ask the person at the front counter the next morning, like, you ever had any complaints in room 1509? But the way the system works when you check out, they just slid my receipt under the door,
Mm-hmm.
and then you needed your room key to get out of the parking garage. So I never went to the front counter. So, but next month if I do have to stay in that hotel, I'm going to ask them.
Yeah.
And yeah, they'll probably kick me out, and I'll have to go find another hotel room. But I want to know. I mean, this is the first time anything like that has happened to me. Um, I've been in hotels where there's been like weird noises and stuff, and it startles you awake, and then you realize it's coming from the hallway or from another room. People just being noisy assholes. But
Right.
this time it was actually a physical thing, and it was weird.
Yeah,
That's all I can.
yeah, because I've been in hotels where you hear like creaky pipes or like you'll somebody just like somebody above you turns on the shower and you hear the pipes rattle a little bit or something
Yeah.
like that just when you're sleeping and it wakes you up. It's like it takes you a minute to realize what it is you're hearing. But
Yep.
I've never had anything like that before, so that's
Yeah. And the hotel we stayed in Oklahoma City, when the air conditioner kicked on, it made these weird popping noises, and then the air conditioner kicked on. So those are the kinds of noises you just figure out.
yeah, yeah.
But tugging on the sheets, you don't really figure out.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Well, you get ghosts, and then you have zombies.
Segway time.
So, well, I was trying to think of a nice segue for that one, and I couldn't come up with one. But you've still been playing on Fridays. You've still been going to tabletop whenever you're in town to play board games with
Yes.
some friends of the show and friends of ours. And how you mentioned to me that this might be a problem that you're going there because now you're in the midst of all these board games that are on your wish list to get.
Yes. And my problem is I watch a web series called Shut Up and Sit Down,
Mm-hmm.
and it's these board game reviewers from London, I believe. And the way they do the reviews is pretty awesome. They kind of give um, more of a story to the reviews, more of a um, words just escape me all of a sudden. I don't know what I'm saying. More of an anecdotal type of review. Um, so I love watching their videos. And one night I was watching and they were playing Dead of Winter, and they gave it a really glowing review and talked about, if you don't own Dead of Winter, we recommend you buy, instead of the base Dead of Winter that came out a few years back, buy the one that is The Long Night, which is a standalone game, or it can be used as an expansion of the first game. So
Okay.
they figured either way, you're good if you buy The Long Night, and if you feel like buying the very first one, you can. And so that was lodged in the back of the head, and we went to Tabletop, our local gaming store here, to play. And we always do this to ourselves. I don't know why, but we always do this. Before we sit down and play, we wander around the store looking at all the games. Kids and Candy Store just doesn't even cover it.
Oh,
You're,
I agree with you on that one, man. I walked into that store just to pick up a game for well, that's where I bought Mice and Mystics for a or Christmas present. Birthday, Christmas, I don't know, one of those two. And like just walking through that store, I'm like, ooh, I want this. I want to play this, and I want to play this, and I want to play this. Holy crap,
yes.
man. I had to leave. Like, I had to just pick up the game and leave because I was like, I need to go pick up my kids from school, and this is not cool. I could just spend hours, like, just looking at all the games there, and yeah,
Oh,
no.
yeah. And if you watch you watch Will Wheaton's Tabletop, or you watch Shut Up and Sit Down, you go through and you go, oh yeah, they reviewed this game. They didn't like this one so much, but they liked this one. Well, they had Dead of Winter, The Long Night
Yeah.
on the shelf, and I keep looking at it. And our friend Jason, he's like, yeah, I've played this game. It's a lot of fun. It's like, yeah, thanks a lot. That's not helping. And then as we're talking about it, one of the people that works there walks by and goes, yeah, this game is awesome. It's like, okay, I get it, people. You're ganging up on me. This is fine. And then finally, I'm like, I've talked myself out of it, and I'm walking around looking at stuff, and then I end up walking back by over there, and Jason goes, if you buy that game, I'll play it. It's like, damn it. So I bought it. I have no self-control whatsoever. So I bought Dead of Winter, The Long Night. And
Nice.
it's another one of those games that weighs a lot. There's a lot
Yeah.
of, and I'm not a huge zombie guy. When the first Dead of Winter came out, there was Dead of Winter, and then there was Last Night on Earth. Two zombie games that were competing with each other at the time. And I bought Last Night on Earth, which, I'll be honest with you, it's a pretty good game. But after a few plays of it and everything, you're like, well, I could play it again, or I could not play it again. And with Dead of Winter, I just kept hearing all these people telling me how much fun this game is. Shut Up and Sit Down recommended it. A couple of coworkers have played it and they loved the game. It's like, oh man, so I had to buy it. And it's a lot better than Last Night on Earth. I'll go ahead and say that. What I do like about this game is my all-time favorite board game is the Battlestar Galactica board game. And what I like about the Battlestar Galactica board game is it's cooperative with the idea of Cylons. You don't know who the Cylon is. There's somebody being subversive, maybe more than one person being subversive. So it kind of creates the social aspect of you get to accuse all your friends of being a toaster and all this other stuff, and it just makes the game more fun.
Yeah.
Dead of Winter has that aspect to it. It's a co-op game that you also deal out. I'll just call them loyalty cards. I can't remember what they're called in Dead of Winter.
Secret cards. They're secret secret objectives or something like that. Yeah.
Secret objectives is something totally different. But you find out if you're the betrayer or you're a survivor.
Yeah.
And the way they divvy it up, it could be all survivors. There may not even be a betrayer. Or there could be a betrayer. You just don't know. And so it has that Battlestar Galactica aspect of it, is if somebody does something maybe not very smart as far as the game goes, then all of a sudden you're in your head, you're like, are they terrible at this game? Or are they the betrayer?
and yeah, that's and that aspect of it, like just that part of the game always, like, it always adds in that little level of, oh, because every time, especially games that you and I play together, like first time we played Battlestar Galactica, you know, it was like, well, yeah, and somebody here could be the traitor, and then you're looking around going, well, there's only like 2 people at this table that know how to play this game. Everyone else is still learning how to play this game. So any questions or anything, like, it's like, well, they're asking this or they're doing this because they think it's the right thing to do when in reality it's not? Or is it that they're, like, you know, it's that whole damn thing. And that just adds in. I mean, we hardly ever play games with the same people over, you know, people who've already played the game before. There's always somebody new in the game in our group that are playing, and it's like that. Any game that has a betrayer aspect to it or a traitor aspect to it just adds that whole nother level of, oh, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And like I said, you don't know if they're just poor at the game or they're actually the betrayer. What is different between this and Battlestar Galactica is with Battlestar Galactica, you pick a role.
Yeah.
You're Starbuck or you're Apollo or you're the president or you're Admiral Adama. You know, you have a role. You're stuck. You're not stuck, but that's your character for the whole game. With Dead of Winter, you start out with 2 survivors. And on the cards, there is a value for search and a value for attack. And the values are anywhere from 1 to 6. And what they are is you roll an action dice, 6-sided dice, and you put them in your pool, and that's what you got to use with. So if you go to a location, you want to search the location, whatever your search value is, say it says 3+, you have to have a die that is a 3, 4, or 3 or above, and play that die to be able to search the location.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked. Well, I had 2 survivors. One of them was kind of a fighter. He had a 5+ on search, so searching was not this guy's bag. And then I had another survivor who had like a 2+. So there's my search person. The the objective on some of the cards is you have to go and find certain objects, and like Battlestar Galactica, you place the cards face down that either fulfill the objective or go against the objective, and you do it in secret. And once you go to check if you fulfilled the objective, you shuffle the cards so you don't have the same order, and then you reveal them to see if we passed it, if there was a betrayer in our midst, and all this other stuff. So going to different locations is very important in this game, because each location has different things that you can choose from. Like the hospital here's the card for the hospital. Along the top, it tells you in the search deck that will be placed here, there is medicine, there's fuel, there's food, there's objects, and then there's actually cards you could pull that gives you another survivor. And the more survivors you have, the more dice you get to roll, the more cool stuff you get to do.
But also the more food you need to collect in order to stay alive.
Correct, if they're in the colony. Like this is Raxon Corporation, and it doesn't have the people, but it has some books and stuff like this that you may need for an objective. So you have to go to these locations to do stuff. And when you go to a location, you have to roll this 10-sided die, whatever the hell it is.
I think it's a 12.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's a 12. It's the most evil die in the world, because let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots that are blank, like that side there. And when you roll it and it comes up blank, nothing happens to your character. If you get the little skull snowflake looking thing, it's a frostbite wound, which each time your turn comes around, it adds another wound to your character. 3 wounds, your character's dead. Then there's the teardrop, blood drop looking skull thing, which is actually just a regular wound. You just add a wound to your character. No reoccurring wounds added because of this wound, unlike the frostbite. And then one side out of 12 is this tooth. And that means your character died. And if your character died in a location where there's other survivors, they become infected. And it kind of does a little bit of the pandemic thing where you could kind of snowball on you. Thank you. So, I have this awesome character with a 2+ search. So turn 1, I'm the first player. I take her out and I want her to go to the library because our objective needed things from the library. So I'm going to go there and search. So I go there, I roll the die, she dies.
Aww.
First roll, first thing I've ever done in the game besides set it up, I kill my one character that can really help me. One of the things that happens with this game, there's just so many pieces, so I can't pull everything out of this thing, but you get a card that is a secret objective for you to win the game. You can play it where it's all cooperative, and if we beat the game, everybody wins, or you can play it where it's cooperative with a secret agenda, and whoever can do that secretly wins the game at the end. So my secret agenda was I had to get things from 5 different things from each location. So searching was a big deal. I killed the only player that was good at searching on my team, so as you can imagine, winning was now not an option for me. When you search, a lot of locations have survivors that you can add to your group, and everybody had like 3 or 4, and they're rolling all these dice. And it's just these six. They give you a ton of six-sided dice to play with. You get one dice for every survivor and plus one. So if you have two survivors, you get 3 dice. I had one survivor, so I only got to roll 2 dice. And the chances of me rolling a 5 or a 6, as you can imagine, was fairly limited. So I think I searched twice the entire game, and not once did I pull a survivor out. It actually did make the game not a whole lot of fun for me, because everything went. Finally, I just said, "Screw it! I'm just going to kill people," because that's all I could do.
Yeah.
I kill zombies, not people. And
100%.
so I at least got some joy out of doing that, helping the team with that. But it just was a kick in the crotch. It really was. When that person died, it was like, wow, suddenly this game is no fun.
Right.
It's the first time I've ever played it. It's just become 0 fun. But
so I have to ask, did you guys end up winning?
We did. Barely, but we did. We were almost out of food. And every time... Well, we were out of food, and every time you don't have enough food, you have to add a starvation token. Every time you add a starvation token, just like Battlestar Galactica, morale goes down. You get morale to 0, you lose. I think we were down to 1, maybe 2 morale when we finished the final objective of the main quest. I'll call it. They call it something else, but of course it's late and I can't remember what it is.
Sure.
So we barely pulled it out, and of course everybody. 4 of us played. I think 2 people got their secret objectives.
Did you have a trader?
We did not have a trader, thankfully.
I was gonna say, I'm like, man, I've watched several videos on this, and every time, I have yet to see anyone win at this game, but it usually comes down to stuff just ends up snowballing, and it's because the trader is sneaky enough to basically avoid any suspicion, whether it's passing the blame on somebody else, or drawing all the attention to somebody else, or just being that covert enough that nobody notices or thinks that he's the traitor. And so the fact that you guys didn't have a traitor probably is what led to it, and I have a feeling that's probably going to be a theme to that game, is if you can get a setup that doesn't have a traitor in it, your odds of winning become a lot higher. Not that the game is easy by any means, because it's not, but I think your odds of winning are just way higher. If you get a traitor in there that's just messing things up, that's going to throw that whole thing for a loop.
And it can, and this is another aspect of the game that I feel is similar to Battlestar Galactica, and that is when you play a card towards the objective face down, if it meets the objective, like it needs items from the hospital. So if you play cards from the hospital, say it says it needs 5, and you have 5 hospital cards and nothing else in there, you meet the objective. But if somebody throws in a card from like the police station or the library or something like this, it subtracts from the total. You may have 5 things from the hospital, but you may have like 2 things from another location, and now you only have 3 for the hospital, and you don't meet the objective. So if you're the betrayer, that's how you screw things up, which is very similar to skill checks in Battlestar Galactica. So that's how the betrayer can really affect the game. So we didn't have that. If we would have, we would have lost spectacularly. Especially, I couldn't do anything, and I was dumb because I went to a site right off the bat and I never left it. So
Yeah.
I killed the zombies that kept showing up to that location, but I never really went back to the colony to help um, defeat the zombies there. Um, One of the reasons I stayed away from the colony is if you're not in the colony, you don't count towards the food you need, which is nice. But you also can't help beat zombies that are piling up in front, at the entrances.
Right.
So I was kind of torn. It's like I'm hanging here in case I roll a high enough die that I can search. But that's not the strength of my character. I probably should have bounced around and killed zombies, but I didn't, and it ended up being okay. We ended up winning anyway. But once I lost my searcher, I was kind of done. I was so disappointed that I couldn't do what I wanted to do, that I didn't think about what my character can do and used his strengths. It was kind of just one of those things where
Just threw you off.
just threw me off, and I never really recovered. And everybody else's turn, they're rolling all these dice and they're doing all these things, and everybody's turn is taking they're doing like 5 or 6 things, and they're doing stuff, and it's taking time, and it gets to me, and it's like, I'll kill a zombie. Okay, my turn's over. I mean, it was that way. So that is a danger to this game, is if you end up with a bad situation. I did. You kind of sit there the whole time going, I hate this game. I freaking hate this game. But even though that happened to me, I did have a really good time with the game. It's a 2 to 5 player. It says 60 to 120 minutes. I guess it depends on how many people are playing and all that good stuff. But it's very similar to Battlestar Galactica with enough differences that you would want to own both games. Another cool feature of this is there's something called a crossroads card. On your turn, the person to your right draws a crossroads card. And they don't tell you what's on it until you meet the condition of the card, which you may not do on your turn, and the card just gets put at the bottom of the deck and nothing ever happens. Or if you meet, if the requirements are met during your turn, then they're like, whoa, okay, and they read the card, and then there's options you have to choose from to what's going to happen to you. You can, that's another place where the betrayer can do some things, and
yeah.
So that's an interesting dynamic. You kind of forget that card is there, and you're just going along, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, crossroads, and you're like, oh, crap, I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's too bad. But
and you were comparing this to Battlestar Galactica, and there's also the other part of it that's very similar, is if you think you know who the betrayer is, you can exile them and basically like putting them in the brig and removing them, basically limiting the damage that they can do. But
right,
you've got to figure out who it is first.
And you get a new objective as an exile. You just can't go back to the colony, but you can go to all the other locations and do your thing. And if you were exiled and you were truly the betrayer, you can still mess things up. If you were exiled and you're one of the good guys and your final objective is you do this and then everybody has to go back to the colony, you can't go back to the colony. So, that will count against your main objective. So it's a fascinating game in the fact that so many things could go right and so many things could go wrong. And what I also like about it, I'm not a huge zombie guy. I don't watch Walking Dead. Honestly, my favorite zombie movie is Shaun of the Dead because it's a comedy. I'm not a big zombie guy. I like this game, even though it's zombie themed. It doesn't feel like the zombies are the main focus of what's going on. Yeah, they're there. You have to fight them. Things could go really bad with the zombies, but because there's a betrayer, because you have to do resource management, because you've got all this dice rolling going on, all this other stuff going on, the zombies kind of take a back seat, and I'm good with that. I'm totally good with that. Um, when they get too many on the board and you start overloading and zombies kind of overrun a room, then the zombie theme comes to life and you've got bad things going on and people getting bit and stuff like this here. But for the rest of the time, I don't watch The Walking Dead, but I've read a lot of the comics. There's that whole, we got the zombie problem, but we're still human, so we're still going to fight amongst each other. That's in this game. Yeah, the zombies are there, and that really should be our focus, but nope. I'm still worried about making sure Joe over there doesn't get more food than me or that kind of thing, or I want to be in charge. That's in this game.
That's
kind of
awesome.
that.
That is awesome.
So, if you like Battlestar Galactica, I think you'll really like this game. If you like zombie games, I think you would still like this game, even though it's not present on every turn like you think it would be.
Right.
I think it's a good social game where you can sit around and talk amongst each other, accuse somebody of being a betrayer, talk out a strategy, be nice to people's faces while you're screwing them in the main objective. If you're the betrayer. If you decide that somebody should be exiled, you can call a vote. And it's 1, 2, 3. You either go thumbs up that they're exiled or thumbs down that they're not exiled, I think is the way it goes.
Yeah.
And the fun part of that is ties are broken by the first player. So be careful of who you accuse, because
don't accuse a person that's first player.
Yeah. Or if you're the first player, do the accusing, because if there's an even number of players and it's tied, you get to decide. So
yeah, that's true.
That's a fun aspect. The whole voting idea is a fun aspect of it. Combat is pretty easy. If you have a die that meets your combat number or higher, you kill a zombie. I mean, there's no.
I gotta say the turns the way these are played are nice and quick. They don't seem to be overloaded with things where it's like you've just got so many things to do, and I think it's really cool. I can't wait to play it. I'm glad that you have it now, and I'm gonna have to find a time when we can get together and play some games. We've got a whole bunch of games on our list that you and I need to play, and that is just going to be another one on there.
Yeah, this game, because it is so social, I want to play with our D&D group. I think it would be fun. I think this would be a good game to play with them. So
maybe we'll do that when we finish this book of the campaign and take a one session break and play a little Dead of Winter.
Absolutely. And it's not a legacy game, but I still think it's a game that gets better the more people get to play it, understand what's going on, and know what cards are out there and what to expect. And, like you said, when you're playing with a Cylon and they've never played before, they're a little bit handcuffed. But the more that person plays the game and learns what Cylons can do and what's going on, the more the distrust builds, the more you understand what's going on in the game. I think it would increase the entertainment value of it.
I agree with that. All right, so that's what we've got for this week on Geekvice. Next week, I think we're going to talk about a new game that I got called Oregon Trail Hunt for Food, which is an expansion pack to the Oregon Trail card game, but it is also a standalone game. You can play it all by itself, or you can play it as an expansion to the original Oregon Trail. So we'll talk about that more next week, along with a bunch of other stuff that I'm sure we will come up with throughout this week. But for now, you guys can go check us out on our blog, geekvice.blogspot.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/geekvice. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch all these videos live there. You can also watch our Geekvice gaming stuff, where I'm currently playing Starbound, and I've got some other stuff in the works as well. You can get there, tiny.cc/Geekvice. If you want to know what we're doing, you can go and follow us on Twitter. You can follow that man over there at Kip Killigan, and you can follow myself at Geekvice. And you can always reach out to us by email at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks, everyone, for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next time.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.